We have this vehicle arriving at a toll plaza problem. Could be some cars, some trucks, maybe some Denali SUVs or something like that. But the main equation they give us here, this A of t, is the rate at which the vehicles arrive. So when part A says write an integral expression that gives the total number of vehicles that arrive, we know the integral is an accumulator that will add that up for us. So between t equals 1 and t equals 5, just integrate that A of t, and we just have to set that up. Now remember on part B, when they give us a problem about cupcakes and it says find the average number of cupcakes, you use your average value format. It says us to find the average value of this rate at which they arrive. So we're still sticking with this A of t, and we're going to use our average value formula, which we know is that 1 over b minus a times the integral from b to a. Now what I did is I graphed this A of t in my calculator. So that is my y1. It's saved in there. And so now when I do my thing here, my part B, this is the calculator problem. I can get my fraction. And then we can use our math 9 real quick between 1 and 5. And then alpha trace to get that y1 in there. And it's going to calculate that average value for us. And on average, that means that 375.537 vehicles per hour and arrived at that toll plaza. So make sure you round to 3 numbers after the decimal place right there. Now letter C, it says that it is this rate at which they arrive. So still sticking with this A of t, is that rate increasing or decreasing? So one wants to know, is this A of t increasing or decreasing? That means we need to take the derivative of that, which our calculator would do that for us at this t equals 1. And so we'll use the math 8 feature. Alpha trace, hit that y1 in there at x equals 1, and it'll take that derivative for us. So we have to be able to get that 148.947 number. Make sure the calculator is in radian mode like always, because it has trig in there. And then since that number is positive, that means that rate is going to be increasing. So we got increasing at t equals 1 since that a prime of 1 is positive. So make sure we justify our answers. All right, now letter D is the trickiest part of this one there. So let's spend a little time and try and make sure we practice getting all these numbers and see if we can make sense of what's going on with this. All right, so we got a line forms whenever this A is greater than or equal to 400. The number of vehicles in the line between A and 4. So we don't know what A is yet. We're going to figure that out. I'll show you that in a second. But we have this main equation. A is the time at which the line begins to form. And then to the nearest number, find the greatest number of vehicles in the line. So the greatest number, this sounds like a 3.1 absolute extrema problem. We're about to make an XY chart, and we're going to check the endpoints and the critical numbers right there. So we want to maximize the greatest number of this n of t we want to maximize here. So I got this n of t right here. Now, when we take the derivative to find those critical numbers, the derivative of the integral is just that inside function. And we want to know when that is equal to 0. So what I need to do, the A of t is already in my calculator, and I need to go over there and I need to enter in this minus 400. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go in between 0 and 4. I don't know what the A value is yet, but I'm pretty sure there's not a negative number there. So I'm just going to go in between 0 and 4. And then the A is going to be where this graph hits the x-axis first there. We'll talk about that. Let's just find these numbers first, and then we'll make sure we understand what's going on there. And so I have, where is this A of t minus 400 is equal to 0? So I have the A of t minus 400 equation in there. I want to figure out where it hits the x-axis. So remember how we do that. We'll hit the trace button. All right, and then put your cursor somewhere over there. We'll hit second calculate. We want to calculate a 0 here. So when it says left bound question mark, I got to go to the left of that 0. So go below the x-axis, hit enter. Then right bound question mark, go hit the right arrow, go above the x-axis to the right of that 0, hit enter. And then for the guess, I just hit enter again. I get this 1.469 number. So I get that number. And then you could do a very similar thing on there. You're going to get this 3.598. So please practice that on your own. So you get those two, those are the two numbers where this A of t is going to be equal to 400. Now, it says the line forms when A is greater than or equal to 400, and A is the time at which the line first begins to form. So the line begins to form when the A is equal to 400. So if I move that 400 over and I solve A minus 400 is equal to 0, the very first time where that hits the x-axis, that is the A value. That's when the line begins to form at t equals 1.469. Now the other one, this 3.598 number, that is going to be a maximum because this is the derivative graph, and that changes from above to below the x-axis right there. So that's a possible max, and we're going to check and see, is it the absolute max along with the endpoints of the interval right here. So the endpoints of your interval are in between A and 4. We said that A is at 1.469. So the 1.469, the 4 has to go on the XY chart, in addition to that 3.598 critical number that we found. Now, what we're trying to maximize is this N of T right here. So I need to take these numbers. The A is the 1.469 through this entire prop. And then I'm going to take those three numbers and plug those in place for T. So like when you go the integral between 1.469 and 1.469, you're going to get 0, okay? And then we got to take the 3.5. So for the remaining two, the A is going to be 1.469, and then we're going to take the 3.598 and the 4 and plug it in place for the T right there. So remember, I now have this A of X minus 400 as my Y1 in the calculator. So if I want to calculate this, I can now hit my math 9 between 1.469 to 3.598, and I can do my alpha trace, and I got my Y1 in there, and it's going to give me this 71.254 number. And then I'm just going to go highlight that and hit enter on it. And now we're going to go from our starting time to 1.469. Now I'm going to go to T equals 4. So I'll just kind of delete these numbers here. And notice that's giving us the 62.339 number there. So what we're looking for is the very highest number, because it says what's the greatest number of vehicles in the line right there. So that is going to be, so we didn't quite make it to 72 vehicles right there. So that means the greatest number of vehicles in the line is going to be 71. Chicken Kiev.